All right, thank you very much. Let's go to our final story for tonight. 96 of the 276 students kidnapped by Boko Haram terrorists from government girls' secondary school, Chibok, Boko State, are still in captivity 9 years after their abduction. The Chibok Schoolgirls were abducted from their school on April 14, 2014, apart from the 25 girls who slipped from the grip of their abductors on the day of the attack. None was freed until 2016 when Amina Ali was found by vigilantes around Sambisa Forest. Then Marianne Ali Mayanga escaped with her Boko Haram husband and their baby Ali, followed by two others who escaped individually. Then the federal government facilitated the release of 21 more girls following a negotiation brokered by the International Red Cross. Another set of 82 girls were released by the insurgents in 2017. So far, 178 of the girls have escaped, but sadly, many of them suffer serious violations as they returned home traumatized. Some were children served by Boko Haram terrorists. I still have with me to discuss this Babatunde Gundiro, a policy analyst, and as well I have Ayodele Adio joining me via Zoom to discuss this. Let me come to you, Ayodele. How would you access or assess government's efforts to rescue the remaining girls? Have they done enough?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer, to the extent that if you understand the reality on ground, and how captive negotiations, go with terrorist organizations globally, and the complexity involved around such negotiations, you would understand why it's taking so long for many of these, children to return back to their parents. Firstly, I think when this administration came to power, it was able to effectively negotiate the release of some of these girls. I can't remember the exact number, but a sizable number of them were released back to their parents in the early stage of Buhari administration. Unfortunately, I think talks broke down, and it became very, very hard to effectively negotiate the release of the other girls. And while this is a very sad
Okay, I think we lost connection with Ayodele. Let me come to you. This administration is packing up, and our girls, some of our girls are yet to be released. What do you make of their effort to get these people released?
Okay, initially, when this administration took over the office, and they tried as much as possible to do certain things, because I realized then about 100 of those girls were taken back. But I think along the line, I don't know, probably due to some other factors and everything, they begin to lose steam in terms of this, war about this Boko Haram thing and all. So they've not been able to do what we actually expected will be done. But in a way, they've tried their best. But we still think that there's room for improvement. And we don't know, by the time the next administration comes on board, then definitely things will probably change. It's quite unfortunate that if you look at the rate of abduction from December 2020 to March 2021, we have about 5 or 6 cases, from the Kangara to Kagara to Wushiri or something, where all these girls were from, back to back adopted, which actually led to about 600 schools being closed down in the north. So that is not too good for a nation like Nigeria, where we have millions of pupils out of school. And whether we like it or not, if those people are not well educated, they are also potential terrorists in the nearest future. So for us, it behoves on the next administration to put strategies in place to ensure that they put proper mechanisms to ensure that all these Boko Haram insurgents and everything should be nipped in the bud.
All right, today, the government is also said not to be communicating with the parents. And the question you want to ask, how can the parents how would the parents have the hope if they are being kept in the dark and not being engaged?
Yeah, that's actually very correct. If there's no proper communication, then definitely, probably they suspect that there's an hanky-panky or something actually going on. So the only thing they can do is to see how they would get across to these families and let them know what is actually happening. The most important thing is actually to tell them the truth. Government should come out clean, be transparent enough, be honest enough, and tell them what is actually happening. Because if they are not saying anything, then that will cause for more concerns and more worries on the sides of the parents of the children.
Also, as we speak, more of our school children are being exposed to danger. How would you suggest we secure the future of our school children?
So for me, in the process of securing them, it's also very important that probably the incoming administration puts in place some mechanisms where they ensure proper protection of these children. It's only when these children will be properly protected, that is actually when we can actually they will probably go to school. Like I said earlier on, about 600 schools has been shut down. So what that means is that we have about 600, more than probably 10,000 pupils not going to school because of insurgency. So it means that government should see the problem of insurgency as number one thing that is very germane for them to actually to do as far as the new administration comes on board. Otherwise, we'll continue to experience something like this.
Right. Thank you very much for your contribution. I've been speaking with Babatunde Gundiro, a policy analyst, and I also had Ayodele Adio, a political analyst. Unfortunately, we lost connection with him at some point in this show.